Recording in progress. 3, 2, 1. We're live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Loosehead Sports Show, the number one sports show on planet Earth, proudly brought to you by Caffeine Gum Australia. No proceeds go to Jed Gillespie, so buy up. Sir, how are you?
Good, mate. Good. I wish I had some caffeine gum and also some proceeds from the caffeine gum, but I'm all good anyway.
We'll get there. We will get there eventually, mate. It's been a good week for the caffeine gum business. It appears talking shit on the internet is actually quite helpful in selling things. Who would have thought?
Who would have guessed? I think we should get into NFTs personally, but
Well, the Loosehead Club, mate, could you imagine? We fucking get a heap of money in there and then eventually set up a bar that only people with the NFT can come to.
Fuck, I got to tell you, I don't understand a single thing about NFTs. I was at dinner last night with a family friend, and he's fucking 16 years old, and he made like 10 grand buying some obscure crypto.
Did he?
Yeah, and I'm going, what the fuck? What the fuck's going on? And he's buying these NFTs. They're just gorillas. It's just a little thing of a gorilla, and it's meant to be somehow profitable. I don't know what the fuck's going on in this world.
I'm trying to learn about it because one, I'm just interested in it, and I hate not knowing shit. And then the more you learn about it, the more you go, oh, okay, this actually seems like a good idea. So for everyone that's just trying to make a quick buck out of it, if you look at it as a long-term thing, I think it might be a good idea. Like I had someone explaining to me today, you could even literally start an entire sports team using this kind of system. So people would buy an NFT, which gives you part ownership in a sports team, and you could have a million people giving you $1,000 each, and then you start the sport team, and so I think it's going to change things. But
yeah, it's effectively you're buying a share. But I thought in that sense, I thought the value of the NFT was notionally, obviously it's determined by the demand for that NFT, but I think it's like who created it. If it's a one-off photo of just like you nude in a little fucking anime thing, it's like, I suppose it's the issue I have with it, not to get too deep into economics, but I don't understand why it has value. Its value is given from its demand. So all these fucking 13-year-olds all over the world want it for some reason. But I'm yet to figure out what's behind that demand. I don't know why they want it.
But it's like the same as art. Like, have you ever seen the Mona Lisa?
Yeah, it sucked.
Yeah, and that's the most valuable piece of art on planet Earth. So that's something I don't understand either.
Yeah, look, in a year's time, there'll be a movement where the Mona Lisa is now a man or something, I guarantee, but it's a very uninspiring fucking photo to start with. Yeah.
Mate, I remember standing in the line of the Louvre, after I've had 3 punnet chocolates for breakfast and a double espresso or whatever they call it over there. And I'm in this line. I'm like, I've got to see the Mona Lisa. I'm in France. I'm in Paris. Got to see the Mona Lisa. Stood in a line of like 200 people at the back. Worked my way to the front. I'm like, what? This is it?
From memory as well. Like, I'm sure they move shit around, but in that room, there's obviously a massive crowd of people, and the Mona Lisa's, as big as a cereal box. And then behind is some sort of epic painting that's as big as a movie screen. And it's just amazing. And no, not a single fucking Kodak photo was taken of that. But everyone's sitting there jinking on this fucking sort of asexual looking thing.
It just makes me think, how can we market this piece of crap that we are creating to be maybe the Mona Lisa of podcasting?
Yeah, well, I don't know.
I don't know either.
Let's just get to Vinci on board. Yeah, 100%.
Mate, my brother's in Florence at the moment, and he just went and saw Michelangelo's David. And it's like it's weird. Have you been there?
No, I haven't.
Well, when you go in, it's like a sculpture of a naked dude, but considering it was in like 1500, it's incredible. And that's 10 times more impressive to me than Da Vinci.
My history on Da Vinci is a bit hazy, but I mean on David, but I'm pretty sure they started making all the dicks really small for some reason, because there was a period where people were snapping off the dicks.
Yeah, so it was offensive.
Yeah. So, but there's a particular reason. I can't remember whether it was an emperor or whether it was just cultural, but they'd make all the statues with tiny little knobs or massive knobs if you're chubby. It depends which end of the spectrum you're going from.
It's probably the opposite one of what you just said. Who would have thought we'd start this by talking about art?
Not me. That's for sure. That's for sure. We're going to get straight into it. We're getting straight into it.
We both put out a poll this week of things to talk about, and as usual, I had absolute crap from the people that just like giving me and you shit. But you had a couple of serious ones.
Well, I had a good. Well, the first one that's got Jamie Roberts to the Tars.
To me, that's huge.
That is every now and again. Myself and I think it was Michael Eisner used to joke that Dwayne Vermeulen would eventually come to Eastwood. That is the equivalent. We're like that. That is the equivalent of that happening. Jamie Roberts, who's played I haven't googled it, but like an eternity of football for Wales. At least I think 2 or 3 British Irish Lions tours. I thought he retired at some point, but he's back. He's a doctor. He's like a god in Wales, and he's coming to the Waratah. He's coming to bloody the Demountables at Moore Park. Yeah,
it's awesome. I think that's a great move. He is married to an Australian lady, which I've since found out after reading an article on it. And I think what's his name? One of the players, Joey Walton, might be out for the year. So I think he's coming as an injury replacement just for the rest of the year. But look, you got a guy who's a winner. You got a guy who's experienced amongst all the young guys. I can't really see a downside to that.
No, I think it's a massive, massive win for the Tars. I think DC, it is, like we've discussed it a billion times, they didn't have a lot of numbers left to recruit with. But Holloway, Raboni Vosak, he's a, how do you say his name last correctly?
Vosayato.
He is a weapon. So there's 2 outstanding signings. And Jamie Roberts, I don't know for the life of me how that happened, but I think it's outstanding. Look, functionally, will he be what he was a decade ago? He's literally 35, so no, he won't. But in a system where we're constantly saying lacks a little bit of leadership, a little bit of age, and a little bit of size in the back line, realistically, he's effectively a giant library of fucking rugby. And he's literally giant. He's a human. He's a beast. So I think it's a great signing. I think it'll be good for publicity. It'll be good for the young guys. It'll be good for everyone. It's fucking great.
Mate, and just like the lessons for the backs, just learning off a guy like that. Like, you know yourself when you're around like a Ben Robinson type character who's just been at the top of international rugby, and then he comes back to your level and you just learn from him. Like, I was very lucky when I started at South. We had 4 Wallaby props. So the hardest scrums I've ever had in my life have been second grade versus first grade at Southern Districts like 10 years ago. And it'll be the same for the inside backs. It's going to skyrocket their progression.
Yeah, I agree. It'll be very, very good for them. Look, and it was necessary. I think there was an injury. I wouldn't say they're thick in the sort of 12, 13 either. Like, they're sort of going to rely, I think, on Fekete and Parisi, who both get injured a fair bit, and also young fella from Gordon. What's his name?
Joey Walton.
Joey Walton's he's injured. So yeah. It makes a lot of sense, and it'll bring eyes to it, mate. It's like anything. I'd be keen to watch that. I want to see if he's still got anything to it.
A couple of things there. You can't go from like Cardiff or the hills in Wales to Coogee Beach, which he'll undoubtedly be living near there. So it's a good move for him. And mate, big portion of the salary cap gone to the 3 players you've just mentioned before, and Holloway, Vosayato, and Jamie Roberts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's all I had. I was just
look,
I was just trying to shit stir a little bit, you know.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, but like, I think once these games get going, they will prove to be, whether it's a training or particularly the first 2 being Jed and Raboni, they will prove their worth tenfold. I have no doubt in that. I'd put my house on that. And Jamie Roberts, to be honest, he could do nothing, but the fact he signed and showed up it will pay itself off in people watching and going to the game. So
100%.
It is what it is. Yeah.
It's an all-round win.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I was fucking rattled, firstly, by the way. I can't see, hypothetically, if he doesn't get picked, it'd be very fucking random, him like rolling out for Norths on a Saturday. Jamie Roberts, he's bro. Look, I think there's a set of rules, and then there's rules for Jamie Roberts. He won't be rolling out in the shoot shield, I don't think.
It'll be like the Falau. It'll be like a token signing to one of the places, and it'll just be like, you know, you give him a car or something, and you know, he won't play. There's no way he'll play shoot share. It'd be fucking wild if he was the kind of guy at the age of 35 to go, no, I really want to experience club rugby in Australia. Let's get the full experience. You know, that'd be pretty cool if he did that.
Well,
but
look,
I wouldn't do that.
I might flick him a DM regardless and just scout him out to see if he's interested. But
just cut Waylo's salary in half, whatever you're paying him. Just give.
I'll put him in the old Eastwood sombrero, and we'll fit him under there. But no, that'd be the wildest. It's sort of like when who was? There's a few guys who've come and gone through the TARS and were just beasts. Who was it? Was it Tangeli Naravolo playing for?
How could they let him go?
Oh, don't fucking start me. He's a great guy, Big T as well. But him playing for Para a few times was just a nightmare. Like, you effectively got to defend 8 people on him, and we'd probably have to do something similar with Mr. Roberts.
Yeah, 100%, all round win. Now, what else did you have? You had other serious stuff to talk about before I go after Fox Sports.
Yeah, before you go after Fox Sports, firstly, a bit of admin. Been a lot of controversy with the balding 15 and the bald 15 over the last 2 weeks. I've been getting Andy Good, the great Andy Good. For those who don't know, he's played for England. He's played a fucking lot of premiership rugby. He's sort of like
he's a cult hero.
He's a cult hero. He's and he was named a 10 in the balding 15, and he actually came and replied on our Instagram. So shout out to Andy Good. But a lot of controversy around selections. I'm not going to lie to you. Everyone thinks that someone else balding should have been in the side. There was someone who was particularly unhappy that Lockie McCaffrey wasn't named.
Was it him that was unhappy?
No, I can't remember who it was, but they wanted Wellesley out of there. I know Wellesley probably wanted Wellesley out of there as well. But the point is, we'll be bringing someone on board to as part of the selection panels, because it's getting too heated.
I feel like with things like that, it's a what have you done for me lately type scenario. So, like, you got to be front and center for selectors over a consistent period of time. And if I haven't seen you lately, how am I going to select you?
Yeah. Look, I spent a lot of time. It's something that obviously really, that's what's keeping me in rugby, is watching people either be bald or balding. So I effectively got an ear lashing from Brian Melrose's son, for about the better part of 2 hours for not selecting David Lyons as well. So he's probably going to come on board to help me select the sides going forward. We're looking at a criminal record 15, redhead, which will be a very good side.
It would be
a redhead 15, headgear 15. So there's some good squads coming up.
You know, isn't it funny the lengths that people will go to amuse themselves? Like, I would spend. So I've got this Reface app. So anyone that follows us both on Instagram would know that every week I put out like some different video of you as like Mariah Carey or Britney Spears or something like that. Yeah. The amusement I get out of that, and I do it far too regularly than it is probably healthy. But yeah, similar type thing. You just spend a lot of time amusing yourself, don't you?
Well, it's very fun. And I actually had the Reface app for 2 weeks, and the problem with the Reface app was I couldn't stop using it. I just wanted to put people's faces on things. If you don't know what it is, effectively it molds your face into effectively any video from all of time. So, you know, you just put your data onto Trump, or it's a great app.
It's the best $40 I spend every year. Just before, they're not a sponsor. They should be a sponsor by the amount we use them. But it's the best $40 I spend every year. Sorry for interrupting.
No, that's all good. That actually wasn't my point. One of the ones that was raised was the Ken Catchpole medal.
Yes.
And the Ken Catchpole medal is, I'm sure most people listening know, but it's titled as the best player in the Shoot Shield each year. But how do you view it? Before I go, how do you view it?
Okay, it's selected by referees, in my understanding. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
So automatically, it's look. Let me just preface this by saying we've got a number of referees who do actually listen to the podcast. I know I say that every week about various groups and communities, but we do actually have quite a few referees that listen. and they are fucking good blokes. And I occasionally get a message from someone saying, I like what you said here. Or, I enjoy your podcast and I appreciate it. And you're a good bloke. But a front rower has never won the Ken Catchpole medal. So how genuine can it be?
Well, look, I think it would be incredibly difficult. I don't have an.
Do you know what happened this year? So Andrew Tuala was high in the rankings, and Connor Young and Blake Shoppy. Yeah. This year, they were in the top 10.
Don't worry, we'll get back to that being an issue. But I think it would be incredible. I actually as well, I'm a big fan of, I don't know, most of the referees I've come across while playing. They're just good guys. Like, fuck, there's nothing else to it. They're just good people. But imagine how difficult it would be refereeing an 80-minute game. Like, and there's a lot of stress, a lot of pressure. I'm sure I'm somewhere in the crowd yelling. And then at the end, you got to quickly recite who deserves 3, who deserves 2, who deserves 1. What you'll get is captain, kicker, 10 or 7.
Yeah, someone that stands out in a big moment.
Yeah. So, if you go back to a game, and that's in fairness, if you go back to a game that you were, heavily involved, how many interactions will you have had with the 10? The 7, and the captain, the majority. So, I can understand that from that perspective, you'd just be like, oh, geez, I saw, I don't know, whoever the captain of Eastwood is, I saw him 10 times, whereas I only saw Holloway twice. But basically, unfortunately, in my opinion, it doesn't reflect who the best player in the comp is. I think it's now. I don't give it any validity in terms of who's the best player.
No, I don't either. Look, it'd be nice to win one, and I'd be telling absolutely everyone on planet Earth if I won one. But I agree. It's a who makes the biggest impact in front of the refs, and then they can remember you that game award. I don't know how you do it. Would you get a separate person to go to every game or watch it on TV? Well, maybe the commentators could start voting for it.
The Dally M is done by the media, I think. And a selection of media. But another issue which you raised, Chubby, is if you have 3 guys from your club all in the top 15, you're fucked. No one can win it. So what we did see over the last sort of 5-6 years is guys who were in clubs sort of coming 6th, 7th, 5, 6, 7, and having a star player. Whereas if you're in a great team, it's more likely that your points will get spread around. Now, I don't know if there's a way of fixing that necessarily, but that sort of led to a few fairly dicey catchpole winners, man. And in their own credit, I don't think they'd say, "Yeah, I'm the best player in the comp," but they were under those rules,
Yes, I would agree with you, and they're like, well, what else do you say? It's like any award thing, mate. It's just one person's opinion. Doesn't necessarily make, or in this case, a group of people's opinions, doesn't necessarily make it right or wrong. I think at the end of the day, the only thing people really give a fuck about is winning the Shoot Shield.
Yeah.
I
agree. I was throwing that one out there because I think there was a period where when I was playing where I was like, fuck this is ridiculous. This is getting ridiculous. But I'm through the other end of that now, and I don't care. And I'd be very hard pressed to find someone else who gives a fuck who's playing.
Unless you're in the running for it, I think if you won one or you're close to winning one, that would be pretty cool. But I've never even been within 150 players of it, so
no,
not something I ever thought about there. But then it's an interesting one. It's similar to the Coach of the Year. I think the Coach of the Year is voted by the other coaches, and so it's really just a popularity contest. At the end of the day, isn't the Coach of the Year the one that wins the championship?
Yeah, you'd think so. It's a funny one. I think they give it out the week before the grand final though.
It's beforehand. I remember we didn't even make the final one year, and Bari got the Coach of the Year. So yeah,
I do think why are you smiling like that?
Well, I was just happy.
Oh, okay, sweet. Because I do think you could. I do think you could be the Coach of the Year without winning the grand final. I do if you've under extenuating circumstances,
if Penrith made the finals.
Yeah, if this year, if Para make the 6, you Coach the Year. You know what?
Yeah.
You can be prime minister as well. Prime minister and coach of the year. But like otherwise it's fairly subjective, isn't it?
Mate, this has been a great conversation so far. We haven't brought up any of the current issues that we've been discussing recently. Are you vaping?
No, just itching my teeth, mate.
All right, that was good. Anything else? What have we got?
Well, yeah, you want to go at Fox Sports, so let's go.
Okay. Let me take it back to when my vendetta against Fox Sports first started. So I was somehow fortunate enough, because I'm friends with Jed Holloway, to be able to have Michael Hooper and Kieran Reid on the podcast within like 2 weeks.
Never heard.
Crazy.
Go on.
No, a couple of no names. Crazy. Consider when I look back now, I was just terrible at podcasting. I was shitting myself. So I wish if I get the chance to speak to those two again, who I know are both listeners, I promise I'll be more relaxed. I was very nervous. But within I posted it, and I posted a clip about how they were teammates. Within a day, Fox Sports have put out this huge article saying Wallaby captain and All Black captain are now teammates. I wonder where they fucking got that from. No credit, no mention of the podcast, no mention of me, nothing. So that was, I can understand not wanting to give. What the fuck is that? Oh, okay.
Stay focused, please, mate.
It's distracted me. The old goldfish brain is playing up again. That is a big one. Is that the Jed Gillespie vape?
Mom,
we can't tell.
Mom, turn it off.
We can't tell people about that one yet, guys, but it's all coming soon. jedgillespie.com/vape.
Don't get distracted, but this is every single week now I get told I love marijuana, but I don't love marijuana. Go back to the story.
I'm just going to cut that bit. I love marijuana.
Fuck. Go back.
Yeah, sorry. And then, so Fox Sports put it out, and ever since then, I've hated them. And every time I look at, I can't even look at you. Every time I look at something that they post, it's something derogatory. It's something clickbaity. It's something that's trying to get you outraged about someone. It's trying to drag someone down. It's all incredibly negative from what I can see. And I guess that's probably a bigger sign of the times, but
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's just I just they're smashing Nick Kyrgios, absolutely hammering him, and I don't quite understand it. I think it's because he's a little bit of an out there character, and maybe there's a certain amount of the population who engages with Nick Kyrgios hate, so they just go after that rather than just reporting good, honest stories.
Yeah. Well, look,
does that make sense?
Yeah, look, I like normal news as well, but I do go at least once a day, I go on Fox Sports and just check if what's been happening. Maybe someone got traded from somewhere, like something crazy happened in the NBA. I don't know, things that you wouldn't hear on your Instagram feed, and a lot of it. Yeah, I would say Fox Sports is getting a little bit more clickbaity than it has been in the past. I think that's a sign of the times, though, Chubby. I do. They also tie. And I'm sure you've seen, they'll tie all their stories in. So, like, if they put out a story on Monday, then they'll then just rehash the headline and put like a little paragraph and then the same story again. So, yeah, look, it's whatever evokes emotion, mate. Like, if it doesn't evoke emotion, it's not gonna get the clicks, it's not gonna get the views. So that's how it is.
You know how on Instagram there'll be people that would follow you and then unfollow you when you don't follow them back.
Yeah.
So, but on Facebook, when you follow a news page or Fox Sports or something like that, you very rarely unfollow it from what I've seen of people. So I recently unfollowed Rolling Stone magazine because have you seen some of the shit that they've been posting?
No.
It's got nothing to do with music or entertainment anymore. It's just still smashing Donald Trump, still smashing various political people. Joe Rogan got absolutely smashed because he's had some doctor on and then gave out false information or something. And so I unfollowed him, and I've never done that on Facebook before. But to me, that's very sad. And to me, there's a good opportunity in media for anyone that can somehow work out how to monetize, this type of thing and just tell the truth. Like, if something's bad, say it's bad. If something's good, say it's good. Tell us what is happening. Don't give us your narrative on it. And I feel like too much, it's people's opinions. or it's not really their opinion, but it's designed to make people angry so that they would, talk about it on a podcast, or comment
pretty
on
much.
it.
Yeah, that is the way it is. It is difficult at the moment. It's very collective. Thinking's very collective at the moment. Let's say you're for something or you're against something. You're very rarely just consuming it. So like you don't really consume news like you were saying about Nick Kyrgios. You don't just consume news about his game and something that happened. You're either in the camp of loving or hating him, and that's sort of where we're at in general. Yeah. So you mentioned American politics. That's definitely where they're at. Australian politics. That's where we're at. You're either for or against. Fucking mandatory masks or whatever. Like we're camped up at the moment. So that's just where we're at.
Is it possible, Jed, to like certain aspects of someone and dislike certain aspects of them, but that doesn't mean you hate them? And you can see the other side. Just say you have to choose a camp, but you can see the positives in both sides and the negatives. Like, is that possible?
It absolutely is possible, but it doesn't really align with certain ways of viewing society. It's particularly the left likes to group people. It's a lot easier for people, I think, to analyze with their brains if they can just put people in boxes. Rather than have Chubby who's like likes this, likes that, but he also likes he's a heavy marijuana taker. Whereas they need to put you in a box. So. Yeah, I think Fox Sports is just following with everyone else, but I have noticed it's been crapper. I have noticed it's been crapper, man. It's not good.
I reckon it'd be really nice to just have set opinions on things, because one of my weaknesses, and I could be a strength or a weakness depending on how you look at it, but I could always see all sides of every argument. So I tend to be quite an indecisive character because I'm like, well, that makes sense. Oh, but shit, that person's point of view makes sense. So I kind of it's kind of good because you can see how other people feel and think and empathize with them. But it's also hard to get shit done sometimes.
Yeah, I can see why that would make shit hard to get done sometimes, but it also makes you very amicable, right? So it makes it helpful to get through situations and circumstances with varying personalities, things like that. It's helpful to be amicable at times, but you got to be decisive at other times, I suppose, on the other end of that.
Do you know, I had this thought the other day. Have you ever met another person that's had a similar life to you?
Life?
Yeah. Similar life experiences, lived in this country, lived in that country, did that, had this bad shit, had that good shit happen to you?
No, I would say like within the realm, like expanded realm, yes, but like really similar, no.
Yeah, I've never met anyone that has lived a life like me. No. Ever. And then if you expand that out, it's pretty impossible for anyone to live the same life. So we're all going to have different experiences and different points of view. So I think if more people look like, even my brothers, we both come from the same family, but we've all had 3 very different lives, and we've all got different points of view, different ways we live. And I think if more people could be accepting of other people and be open to the fact that everyone's different and sees the world differently, the world might be a better place.
I think you just you don't have to be open to it. Just don't be offended by it. Stop being offended by things. Stop everyone. I promise anyone who wants to get back to rugby will get back very shortly. But I was listening to one of those Rogans, and it is by far, we live in the softest generation in human history, and that is a fact. It is it does. You know what? It does roll over into rugby a little bit, but not as much, because I think rugby is one of the final sort of altars where being offended by fucking someone's thoughts hasn't quite touched yet too much, unless you're Israel Folau. But, we do live in the softest generation ever to exist. That's a fact.
I have to bring this up before I forget. I went to the post office to post some Caffeine Gum Australia to my various clients all over the world. And as I was standing in line, there was this lady might have been 3 people behind me, with someone standing quite close to her behind. And she said, "Excuse me, social distancing." And the lady's like, "What?" And like moved like a foot away. She's like, "Thank you."
Yeah, there was a dude in West Ryde for a little while who was walking around. He was like a big sort of Lebo guy, and he had a sign hanging from his neck, and it just said, "I have an exemption." And he didn't wear a mask. He just wore a sign. And I was like, I like this guy, bro. He's got. So I printed one for myself.
Did you? You got a T-shirt? I am an exemption.
No, but I have had some interest in we did some beta testing, everyone out there, on some potential T-shirt ideas. One of them was Jed Gillespie sold me drugs. The other one was cancel Jed Gillespie. And the third one can't be repeated. But
something about people's mums.
I have had interest on 2 of them. So it's starting diving on the people I spend time with.
Yeah, that'd be quite funny. Jed Gillespie sold me drugs. Imagine if that shirt sold like 100,000 or 1,000 even, or maybe even 5 shirts. It would still be awesome.
It'd actually be funnier if you didn't know, like you had no connection to me, anyone I knew. You didn't know anything, but you're wearing the full name of someone on your shirt. Wait, all right, back to footy.
Yes.
How's preseason? So you guys back end your week, right?
We did last week, yes.
How was it?
It kind of mixes it up. It was good. Boys got a little bit tired after Friday, and Saturday was a little less tiring. But no, the boys have been good, mate. They're a good bunch of fellas. They're very hardworking, and I'm excited, man. I'm excited for this year. It'd be nice to play a full season for the first time in a long time. I wouldn't even consider this a full season because you're playing 18 games. I remember the last year I played, it was like 22 rounds plus finals, plus trials.
Double round, man. The double round. And those seasons back then, I suppose you just naturally progress to the next one. I don't remember thinking like, wow, this is going to be really short this season, except for 2020. But those first few were so long. And I don't I suppose we were really young and happy at the time, but like playing everyone home and away, like if you're in round 5 and you're 0-5, you can come fucking first.
Yeah. Well, like I think Norths did that year that they won it. They lost like the first 6.
Yeah, it's fucking incredible, isn't it? But
the first year, I think it was they lost the first 5 or 6 games and then ended up winning the whole thing.
Yeah, it's fucking incredible. Like it just gave you more time, I suppose, back then to sort of have a few slip ups.
You can build into a season. You can build into a season, whereas the last couple of years you had to fucking go from the start. You couldn't afford a little bit of build into it time, could you?
Yeah, actually, it's a good question for last year. How much did you guys do? Much like mathematics, I suppose, with like 5-6 weeks to go. Did you start doing much maths on like?
Oh, I never did. I'd have a bit of a look going, hey, if we win this game, we're within 6 or 7, or we'll get close to making the finals. But it wasn't really, I'm very much a week to week type person. If you don't win enough games, you're not going to get through. So, and I think it actually puts a weird amount of pressure on the players going, hey, we need to win this game by this amount of points. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I'm somewhat similar. I think there's times where you might need to be just because of the nature of you get it. Sometimes you get a log jam down 4, 5, 6 or 3, 4, 5. We played 2019. We played East at home in the last round, and if we won, I think we came second, and Gordon got in. Yeah. And if we lost, if we won, we might have come. I think we came first. If we lost, Gordon were out, and we play East again. And despite a hat trick from a aging heroic bald man, we went down, and Gordon went out, and we played East again at TG the next week. So I suppose it's like situations like that where you end up with funny results, and it does get a bit tight towards the end of the season. It's like it gets intense.
I remember we played a semi-final versus Uni at Southern Districts one day, and we ended up winning the game on the bell for the second year in a row. The year before, it knocked them out when we went on to play you guys in the final. But the following year, the result was meaningless. It was just you're both going through to next week. It's this person's going through first and playing this game. This guy's playing the easier game. Game.
Yeah.
And, so everyone's going, we're knocked in yet, but we didn't. We just beat them, and then the next week they got knocked out.
Yeah, you beat them. Sometimes I do remember times where, for whatever reason, Uni hadn't got their flood of Wallabies back yet, but you knew that by the second round of the finals they would be back. So on paper, you might win the first game, but you'd actually get a harder draw. So I think one year we actually lost to you, and it worked in our favour. Potentially 4. It might have been 14. I don't know, but we lost to you guys, and we actually got an easier draw because of that. And you had to go on and play uni. We went and played a very good Manly team, but I would have preferred to play Manly than uni.
Yeah, I think anyone would have, to be honest, because we were fucked the next week.
Yeah, and that's exactly how.
Yeah,
that's it. That I suppose uni are one of the rare teams where that has happened historically, just because they have such a great, broad draw of players. But I think this year as well, all these guys from Melbourne, all these guys from Canberra, not Canberra, the Tars, like the international players, like Jamie Roberts. I know he'll want to play, but the Force, like they're going to line up for a shoot shield team. So
did you see the Perth, not Perth, Western Australia governor? You'd know his name, but they've just put further restrictions on Perth. So they were meant to open up on the 5th of February, and now they've pushed it back even further. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens this year.
Yeah, fuck those guys. He's an idiot. But yeah, I suppose my point is there's a lot of fringe players who haven't had to play much club football. Like when I say fringe, I mean guys from overseas, or they're originally from New Zealand. They've come to the Tars, whatever. They're going to play a lot of shoot shield this year. So,
yeah,
what team you see in round one for South or Eastwood or North, it may look very, very different come round 15 when 6 guys become available who never previously played. So that's something that you'll have to keep your eye on. And I know a lot of the club coaches at the moment would be, trying to wiggle in there and make sure that, that I have no idea. The third string 9 from from the Rebels or whoever is available for them.
Yeah. No, mate, definitely. It's going to, I think the last couple of years, there could be any number of 6 to 8 teams who could potentially win it. So I think that there's been a lot of teams that have done some serious recruiting. So I think if people can sneak into the finals, then you throw in the Super Rugby guys coming back. It's going to be very exciting if we get through this year. When we get through this year.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about that aspect at all. But yeah, it's. I will say though, and for the people who've sort of loved the shoot shield for a long time, like gone are the days where 2011, uni can roll out a fucking international side for the
two Super Rugby teams, first grade and second grade.
They're like those days are numbered, and I think that's because the standard of Super Rugby isn't as high. But the reality is that, like, if you look at East or something like that, they've had fucking 8 contracted players per year for the last 2 years at least, and still haven't, kicked on to win the comp. So I don't think that, regardless of how many people get back to where, I don't think that it can completely 360 the comp like back in 2011 and those era. But it will certainly impact, like, whether you sort of get knocked out in the first round of the semis or you make the grand final. It will impact that.
Definitely. When do you guys start back? It's this week, isn't it?
Yeah, we're back tomorrow. Get the boys going. There's been, to be honest, a fair bit of sort of homework for the guys themselves, but mainly for the coaches in terms of attack, defense structures, things like that, making sure things are in line, consulting people smarter than us.
Is Benny Batcher? Actually, serious question. Huge Instagram post from Ben Batcher the other day. Uncle Ben. He looks like he's been on the Jed Gillespie diet lately. Can you confirm?
What's the Jed Gillespie diet?
I don't know. I'm just hoping he gets offended by that.
No, he won't get. Well, he'll be offended by fucking the Jed Gillespie diet. But he's been counting his calories for the better part of a decade now, so he stays in check. Oh, it's fucking boring, mate. It's boring.
Good for him, but boring.
I did it for a year, and I was so fucking shredded.
I do it for 2 days, and I just get over it.
Well, you got to scan. I'm sure there's people out there who've done it. Maybe if you're really fat, you haven't, but you grab whatever you're about to eat, you scan the barcode, tells you what's in it, and that process sucks. It's horrible.
Actually, we should give him a shout out. Former Eastwood legend Ben Alexander's got an app where all you do is post a photo of it, and they tell you what the calories are.
Yeah, actually, I have heard that he gets a bit done, Benny. He's got a couple of pubs. He's got his app. I know his brother Tom's still at Eastwood. He's a very good friend of mine. He's also a genius when it comes to IT stuff. So talented family. But I didn't know the app was live.
No, it's live. I had him on the one of the best sports podcasts, the number one sports podcast in the world. Yeah, and he's talked about it, mate. I tried it for a little bit. It's like even taking photos is too much for me. But it is significantly easier than a lot of the other ones because most people don't need to know the precise macronutrients of protein and carbohydrates unless you're like a bodybuilder or something. So you just take a photo. Within an hour or so, it sends it back and tells you where you're at. Seemed like a pretty good idea.
I like the idea. The hard part about what the useful part about counting your calories for me was I wish I'd done it when I was in the realms of being a pro footballer. I really wish I had, because it's not that hard, right? If you're really taking it seriously, but you then begin to know things. So you're like, righto, a slice of cheese, that's 5. If it's light cheese, it's 5 grams of fat. And, there's 9 calories to every gram. And then there's only 5 calories to every gram of carbs and this. And you sort of start knowing stuff. So even if you only do it for 2 months, you can sort of look at a meal and go, all right, that's about, 450, or it's mainly your fats I was watching, right? So you're like, mate, that's probably 40 grams of fat. I wish I'd done it when I was younger. Because all it is now is I go to eat a bag of chips and I'm like, well, I know it has 120 grams of fat in it, but I'm still going to fucking eat it. So it's not as effective now that I'm retired.
Well, we talked about this earlier in the week to a mutual friend of ours, but if you are still playing footy and then you retire, do not stop exercising because it is very difficult to get that level of fitness back again. So I would encourage anyone who listens, and we're starting to get some listeners, Jed Gillespie, do not stop exercising ever. I was pretty good when I first stopped, and then I stopped. Then I was a lazy fucker for a while, and now I'm starting to do it again. But geez, once you stop, it's so hard.
Oh, mate, I couldn't agree more. There was I'm boxing like fucking 5 times a week. These sessions are hard, and nothing's happened from what I can tell. But when I was a player, I would just if I need to lose 10 kilos for some reason, it would just fall off me. And it must be an age thing. Talking like I'm 70, but it doesn't anymore. So I can get really fucking, like if I lift a lot of weights, I can get bigger, but I, for some reason, can't get smaller. And I know you would have said the same thing, but when you're playing, you're like, mate, I'm 120 now. I only need to be 108, when I'm retired.
I've said the same thing every Monday for the last, I've been stopped for over a year now. Every Monday, all right, you don't need to be 114 kilos anymore. Get down to 100. Get down to 100, and then I just get to Friday. I'm like,
yeah. Well, mate, even day to day, like you might have a bad day eating yesterday. Like I don't know, I had a couple of these or some pizza or something, and then you go to bed. You're like, yeah, you know what? Tomorrow's going to be, I'll just have a little shake in the morning, and then we'll do a little trot. And I wake up all fucked and just going, oh fuck, I need a croissant. Like, get me a croissant. Someone fucking get me one bad. I'm in pain. But
do you remember when Guzman first started coming out? Guzman Gomez. So Metz and I became obsessed with burritos. So we would eat burritos.
Who would have guessed that Tim Metcher, the man who at one point was going to start his own franchise in Coffs Harbour, He's
probably still going to, but we do it before training, and then it will just sit in your guts while you're running. And I'm just thinking of that now, going, what the fuck was I thinking?
I do look at some of the boys, and at some of the sessions you go, fuck that. And then sometimes you're in trouble fitness wise if I'm looking at your scores and going, that's a stone's throw. It's not too far away. So I suppose that could be the measuring stick for when you're completely fucked. I might just post some times, and if you're within 15 seconds, you need help, urgent help.
Publicly name and shame. I'll Instagram post it, and then what I'll do is I'll boost it so that millions of people around the world will see that you are an incredibly unfit person, unless you pull your head in. How's that for coaching?
Well, I will say though, I think it doesn't just apply to retiring. Like there were times when I played where I was so fucking fit, and I wasn't that slow. So I was running like a fucking 5-minute yo-yo. I mean Bronco or whatever, which is just so fast for me. I wish I'd just ticked it over,
just kept going over.
There is no better. I did one of my pretty much my only proper full pro preseason. I went in fit, and it was so much easier than if I went in fucked. Yeah. And what I did notice though was that the guys who were sort of long termers, they'd go in fucked. And I hesitate to say it was so that they could have a massive improvement on their scores. There was between that or just maybe they wanted a proper off season, but like they would really come in bad and then end up good. Whereas I suppose it was a bit rarer, but some people would come in fit and end up touch fitter, you know.
I reckon particularly when you're starting out, you want to come in fit.
Oh, absolutely. Like there is no better look than getting to your testing day and coming first. Like you're coming first or you come second or you win the 40, you know, just shit like that.
One of the many mistakes I made is not realising that you don't get a second chance at a first impression.
No, it's a very good point. I've actually tried to take that advice on your advice about not holding your first impression. I think that was good. I think that was one of the very few things you say that really sticks with Chubby.
Occasionally is a gem amongst all the bullshit.
No, it was a good point. But actually, before I go and fucking punch around some 16-year-old Koreans and you do have another caffeine gum, I do have a story from after the 2015 grand final. I got a story. It relates to a big fan of the podcast. Regular messenger of the podcast.
Played hookup potentially.
Potentially. Yeah. So, very, very tight final. Don't remember a single second of it. Apparently, Jai Ayub kicked a goal. Don't remember, but he's a really short person, so we won't give him any credit. Back to the clubhouse. Same thing anyone would do. You drink there till it closes, and then the Gillespie family home turned into the party house for the second year in a row. And it was pretty much open to anyone who wanted to come, supporters, players, whatnot. At some point, I must have been maturing because instead of the year before, I said, I'm actually going to have a bit of a nap. When I woke up in the morning, and I did leave this person roaming furiously around the house, just before I went to sleep, he spilled a full thing of tzatziki on our pool table, which never came out, actually. A 100-year-old pool table. I woke up in the morning. My mother was particularly unimpressed. They were all still drinking, and there had been a note left on our front step with a golf driver and a bucket of balls, and said, I think these belong to you. And that player had been driving golf balls into our neighbour's house for a large portion of the evening off the front yard. So I at the time, I was like, well, that's not possible. Who would do that? Unfortunately,
I know who'd do that.
the golf club was also left on the front lawn. So they'd obviously paid for their bucket, teed it up into the garden, into the next door neighbour's house, and then just walked inside. So
can I ask a serious question there, Jed? Why are you letting supporters come to your Mad Monday, Silly Sunday session? That's quite a risky endeavour.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. There's a certain class of people who emerge around grand final time at Eastwood, and they sort of crawl out of the local drinking vessels at the businessman's club. But there was a lot of guys who were sort of, our age or our mates. They wouldn't come to Silly Sunday, but, they were put it this way. There wasn't just complete randoms who I had no idea who they were, but there were definitely some.
That was screened.
That was screened. There were some arm's length customers though who I was going, yeah, that's so and so's brother's cousin's girlfriend. All right, fair enough.
Did you guys get whenever you made a grand final, you just have randoms turn up that you hadn't seen all year who are all of a sudden like wearing the Eastwood kit and were like screaming and yelling and
we're very proud of them at Eastwood, and they're called the Townies. They're called the Townies, the Eastwood Townies, and they emerge mostly for sort of the one or two big home games a year, and when it's grand final time. But it's important to have, they get out of the Eastwood Businessmen's Club and the Landmark Hotel, and they get on the bus and they slap a shirt on. We love them.
Mate, that's perfect. Should we bring up what James Wayland asked? Former Southern District's lower graded James Wayland. So he goes, between you two, who was better? And I would immediately have said you, but my answer is that we're both better than him.
Oh, look, I'm not going to get involved in this slander. I think he's a very talented young man, but I'm not going to be stirred. I'm not getting my pot stirred on this podcast.
He's talented, all right. You should see him on the piss. He's electric on the piss. And he's good at putting signs together, avoiding work. He's good at wasting days sitting on the toilet. What else is he good at? No, that's about it. Overeating, nutritionally overachieving. He's very good at that.
Nutritionally overachieving. Maximizing nutritional value.
I love Whaler. I just had to mention that.
Yeah, no, it's pretty funny. I think he'll enjoy that as well. So good on him.
It will. It will. It's certainly good for me to mention that. I enjoyed it enormously. Anyway, you off to Foxy Boxing. This was fun. This is fun as usual. If you are still listening to this dribble, like this video. The more people that like videos on YouTube, the more people are likely to see it with the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe to the channel. Once we get to 1,000 views, we can start earning money. Buy caffeine chewing gum. When we put Jed's shirt out and his THC vapes, get amongst them. Jed Gillespie sold me drugs, patent pending shirt and vapes. Anything, Jed? Anything to finish on?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really tired in general. I'm sick and go to work. So shout out to everyone.
Yeah, nobody really understands what that means. If anyone can interpret what Jed just said, please let me know. I'll give you a free pack of gum. Follow us both on Instagram at 2Looseheads and at official Jed Gillespie. Follow at Wandering Bear Sports on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and I've got a LinkedIn, Twitter now. Boom. Thanks everyone listening, man. We've been getting fucking good views, Jed.
Yeah.
We're getting good views. So we'll keep going. Eventually, we're going to do this in person. Whether Jed likes it or not.
Let's do that.
We'll get set up. All right. Anything else?
Nah, let's turn the recording off. I have one thing to tell you.
Bye.